What happens when someone you thought was dead shows up? I was running on empty. You know those weeks where everything seems to pile up work, family stuff, deadlines, and your own head just spinning nonstop? I hit one of those last September, feeling drained and desperate for a break. So I figured, why not escape for a bit? I grabbed my laptop and headed to this coffee shop near my place. It's small and cozy with kind of a mellow vibe I like when I need to think. I found a spot by the window and started typing away, sipping a latte. Honestly, I wasn't really in the mood to talk to anyone, just wanted to get through the day. Then this guy plops down beside me, completely out of the blue. He orders his coffee, gives me a nod, and we start chatting. Just small stuff at first, the usual boring weather conversation. But then, out of nowhere, he drops his cousin's name. And it's a name I haven't heard in, well, probably a decade. A name that instantly took me back to my childhood. It was 100% the same name as my best friend back then. I don't know if you've ever had moments where your heart skips. That's what happened, I asked, almost without thinking. Wait, is this cousin from around Maple Street? Yeah, he said. Exactly. I swallowed hard because it couldn't be a coincidence, right? He went on, hopeful but cautious. I know it sounds crazy, but yeah, we're connected. I'm moving here next week, actually. I thought you might want to know. It was like life had just thrown me this curveball out of nowhere. After that coffee shop encounter, I couldn't stop thinking about the name, about that person I thought I'd lost long ago. The weirdest thing? I believed my best friend had died years ago. It wasn't a rumor or just a dark joke among friends. It was something everyone accepted as fact because they'd disappeared under mysterious circumstances a decade earlier. I wasn't sure if I was ready for this truth to be challenged. I tried messaging that old friend, just a simple, "Hey, is that really you?" But no reply. The waiting was killing me. Meanwhile, the guy I met at the coffee shop seemed off. When I pushed for more about his cousin, he was cagey, like something darker was lurking beneath the surface. He hinted that the cousin's life hadn't been easy, but he didn't want to say more. I felt torn. Was I foolish to hold on to this hope? What if my memories were just wishful thinking? The idea that maybe the friend I'd mourned for years could actually be alive was overwhelming. That night, I barely slept. I kept replaying the conversation, hunting for clues, but all I had was that fragile thread hanging between reality and unreality. Then, out of nowhere, my phone rang. It was an unknown number, but my heart jumped. I answered, and for a moment, the voice on the other end sounded strange, unfamiliar. Then it hit me. It was him, my friend. But something was different in the way he spoke. There was hesitation, pain, and a guarded edge I hadn't heard before. He didn't say much at first, just enough to confirm he was alive, that he hadn't died like everyone thought. Then the words that broke me. He'd gone into hiding because of things he couldn't explain, things he wished he never got involved in. He warned me to be cautious about reaching out too openly, that some people were looking for him, and they weren't the kind of people to mess with. My mind was spinning. Why didn't he tell anyone? Who was after him? And why right now, after all these years? I wanted to ask so many questions, but he said he needed time, and the call ended. My excitement turned to fear. The story was way more complicated than I'd imagined. That evening, the guy from the coffee shop called me again. His voice was low and serious, like the weight of what he was about to tell me was exhausting him. He started slowly, almost like he was measuring how much he could share. You remember how I said my cousin's life hasn't been easy? It's more than just bad luck or a rough patch. There's a lot buried under the surface. I urged him to keep going, and what he revealed hit like a punch. Years ago, my cousin got mixed up with the wrong people. It started small, borrowing money from the wrong guys, trying to cover it up with whatever jobs he could find. But it snowballed. He owed debts that couldn't just be paid back with cash. Sometimes it was favors, sometimes it was silence. He paused, and I could hear the tension in his breath. There were threats. Calls in the middle of the night. People showing up where he shouldn't have been, reminding him, and all of us, that the past has a way of catching up. Then came the part I wasn't ready for. The choices? They weren't just about money or running away. There were things he did to keep himself and his family safe. Things that he regrets. Some of it involved lying to people who trusted him. Some of it meant cutting ties with everyone, pretending to be dead. I felt my chest tighten. The friend I thought I knew, the person I'd mourned as lost forever, he had been battling demons I never saw coming. The stranger's voice softened. That's why he went underground. It was the only way out, but it's not a clean escape. The past left scars and enemies that don't forget. I stayed silent for a moment, struggling to process everything. This was so far from the childhood memories I'd clung to. Look, the guy said, I didn't want to get you involved. But now that you know, you have to be careful. There are still people watching. I realized then that this wasn't just a coincidence. It was a warning. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind was a cyclone of memories and new fears. I kept thinking about those debts, the threats, the lies. But the strangest thing was how the past seemed to be pulling me in deeper. I decided to visit our old neighborhood. The streets were quieter now. The places we used to hang out changed, but some faces remained. I asked around cautiously, dropping a few names, trying not to reveal too much. One older guy at the corner cafe looked at me with a hard edge. You talking about him? No one's seen him in years. Disappeared like a ghost. Some say he ran. Others say something worse. The uncertainty twisted in my gut. Back home, I exchanged messages with the stranger. Tonight, he opened up more, sharing that some people from my friend's past had started asking questions recently, people with a darker purpose. Then, the twist hit. He told me something that didn't add up. The cousin had been spotted in another city months ago, working under a different name. That wasn't supposed to be possible. The whole hiding underground story suddenly looked more like an elaborate cover. Why would he risk exposure? What was really going on? We finally arranged to meet in person. Me, the friend I thought was dead, and the stranger who'd been my guide through all this. It was at a small, quiet cafe on the edge of town. The The moment my friend walked in, I caught a glimpse of that familiar look, older, marked by years, but unmistakably him. At first, the conversation was strained. The friend was guarded, reluctant to revisit old wounds. The stranger stayed close, watching, almost protective. Then, the confrontation broke open. My friend revealed the truth nobody saw coming. The debts, the threats, they were only half the story. The reason for his disappearance wasn't just danger from outside forces. He'd been protecting us from someone close, someone we trusted, and that protection meant sacrifices none of us could imagine. The strange twist deepened. Some of the darkness had been orchestrated to hide a secret no one was ready for. The final revelation shattered everything. The person who supposedly helped my friend disappear, the stranger who introduced all this to me, was not just a cousin. He was the key player in the whole web. It turned out he had betrayed my friend years ago, involved in the very dangerous dealings that forced my friend into hiding. He'd kept me in the dark, manipulating the story to protect himself. But the friend had uncovered the truth, and that's why he finally reached out, because the lies were starting to unravel, and danger was growing again. The stranger's warnings weren't just about outside threats. They were warnings about himself. It was a betrayal no one expected but explained so much of the years lost, the silence and the shadows that clung to our past.